Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk with Tico and Tracy Venturi, the Venturi Group of Real Broker in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tracy, episode 466, about 10 years, been talking about real estate in Albuquerque and around the country, residential real estate in particular. Love bringing this information out every week and what we see in the real estate market, because I know everybody, I hope everybody wants to keep up with what's going on in the real estate world.
Totally. And Tigo, we say that almost 10 years bringing them real estate. Well, actually 21 years bringing them real estate, and for me, and 18 years for you.
Yeah.
But doing a radio show and YouTube and podcasts and things for about 10 years.
Yep.
A lot of content.
Yeah. So, Tracy, all right, let's get into it. October home sales data. We're going to look at that. I've got a survey on why people aren't moving as much, because that's one of the stories out there right now is people aren't moving. If you have a short-term rental, like an Airbnb, if you're an investor or thinking of investing in a short-term rental, you want to learn there's some changes coming on in the way those taxes are being assessed.
Could be changes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Big news of the week was a big lawsuit that came out related to the real estate industry and realtors in particular, and we'll talk about that. Tracy, you had a thing on multi-generational housing and how important that is for folks. So,
and the voucher program.
And yes, also known as Section 8 program, but we're going to talk about that program and how it benefits. Actually, I really do think it's a benefit for both landlords, people renting properties, as well as people looking or that are in a lower income bracket and can get some support on their housing. So
it's November, and rather than jumping right into the October stats, Tio, let's talk about it. It was a fun week because something fairly monumental happened this week, unrelated to real estate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was definitely, to me, the most important story of the week, which was the new Beatles song came out.
Hey, right.
Hey, we're of that generation. Come on, we grew up listening to that, and I'm actually a little bit even
little young
for that. But
yeah, they started in the 50s, right?
No, 60, early 60s.
Early 60s.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that like Paul is still out there touring and making music, singing music at whatever his 80-year-old ish age?
Yeah.
And sounds great. We saw him a few years ago. It was an amazing concert, right?
Well, we saw Ringo in Phoenix here just a few months ago with his all-star band, which was just amazing. So I know this is a real estate show, but we're talking about the Beatles. But anyway, for us, it was a big deal.
Things that make things interesting in life, right? But yeah, he's 81 years old, but been going a long time. But it's also November, like there's a lot of no going on right now. People are saying November instead of just no shave November. It's also say no to things November. It's the time to evaluate things, right? That you might say no to. And so Tigo, for you, that's say no to the next committee that they ask you to be on. That would be my recommendation for you.
You know what's really funny about that? I just volunteered to chair a committee at the Realtor Association that has to do some work. Oh, by the way, I'm
a little bit late.
Just before we got on here, I sent off an email volunteering, raising my hand to do something. So
again.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little late for that advice then.
Well, it's that whole thing. If you don't step up and volunteer and help out and help with big decisions, I was going to say you can't complain. You definitely can complain. There's definitely that. But anyway. Happy to be supporting the real estate world, and obviously housing is a big deal. So I take it very seriously. So Tracy,
1963. I just looked.
Yeah. Okay.
Beatles.
There you go.
Anyway. Okay. So October
2023 home sales data in Albuquerque.
Some average and median home prices, and
I do. So if we look at, let's start there. Yeah. So median price, and we're talking about single family, detached resale homes. So
in the metro area?
In the entire metro Albuquerque area. So we're looking at median price is now 360, that's new construction, 340,000 basically. We were about 360 here a few months ago for closed sales, but right now we're at about 340. So there has been a pullback in the median price. Median price also is about 5% higher than a year ago. So as we normally do see every year, we get these peaks in June, July, August, let's say, and then home prices kind of, slow down a little bit going into late summer and, of course, this time of year in the fall. Price per square foot, which is a better measure of actual percentage appreciation. Price per square foot is now $202 per square foot, 202. And that's about a 7% increase from a year ago. So we're still seeing year over year price appreciation, which is interesting because we did have a pretty big pullback in home prices from June last year through January or through December. And then, again, all from January all the way up until just, a month or so ago, home prices pushed up quite a bit. But again, we were at a 7% year over year price appreciation. The other big story when we look at the housing data is the number of sales, and the number of sales that actually closed. We call, we say closed sales. Oh, you got your dog in here. Somebody's at the front door. He's got to go see at our office. So Tracy, the number of closed sales, that's the number of units that actually exchanged. There were 615 single family detached homes. There's clearly more than that if you include the attached and all the new construction. In fact, here, I'll give you that data. I've got it right here. So all home sales in the Albuquerque area, October 786. And that is a 10% decrease from the number last year, which was pretty low. Last year, October, it was 31% lower than October of 21. So no doubt the number of homes selling has slowed down. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's just not as many homes in the market. And of course, affordability has really put the hurt on a lot of people with these high mortgage interest rates.
Yeah. Wow. Are you done talking stats?
No, I thought you were going to say something.
I was going to talk about a house.
Question.
I was going to talk about a house we have listed for sale.
Okay.
You said the average price per square foot is $202.
Right.
$202 per square foot. We have a really great house listed for sale in Cabazon in Rio Rancho. So it's a completely different topic than where you were. But I was looking at it thinking, so it's below the average. It's a brick house in Rio Rancho. I'm
going to have that song going through my head.
It's I Love Me Do.
No, Brick House.
Oh, Brick House. I'm still thinking about the Beatles' first song, which was really 1962 in October. So this house, brick house in Cabazon, it's in the gated neighborhood within Cabazon, which is at the very south end of Rio Rancho. It's a master planned community, and it has, different neighborhoods within Cabazon. Yeah. It's got walking trails and parks. Rio Rancho has one of its swimming pools in Cabazon Park, or the park in Cabazon. Anyway, 2623 Camino Cordoba Southeast, Rio Rancho, $495,000. And they're offering 1% to buyers' closing costs. So somebody could use that as a rate buy down. 2623 Camino Cordoba. It's 2,760 square feet, and it's effectively a 5-bedroom home. It's like a 4 plus a hobby room, but the hobby room is right next to a full bathroom, so it can be a bedroom. That's on the main floor, 1 bedroom and a full bath on the main floor, plus the hobby room. Large master upstairs with 2 walk-in closets, the ensuite's lovely, and 2 more bedrooms upstairs. Huge yard. It's one of the biggest lots in that neighborhood at about 1/3 of an acre. Lots of area for play, gardening, or whatever you might need. But that one is available for only high 170s per square foot. So well below.
That's why you were wondering about the 202.
That's why it took me a long time to get there.
Below the average.
I haven't done the math, but it's under 180 a square foot. So significantly below for a beautiful brick home in a gated neighborhood in Cabazon. So if you're interested in that, best way to reach us, 448-8888. That's 505, of course, in the 505, as Eddie would say.
Yep.
505-448-8888, and we'd be happy to get you in that house or any others to take a look. Okay, back to October stats.
No, I want to go back to something you said, which I think is important. You said that the seller on this property is offering 1% toward buyers' closing costs, which could include mortgage rate buy down. mortgage rate buy down in 2020, 2021, 2022 wasn't really a thing because we were, 4% mortgages. But now with 7.5%, 8% mortgages, that buy down can make a big difference. And I know we were talking to
Sarah Gemeyer Mays with One Trust Home Loans.
Yeah, here. One of the
she was at our team meeting this week.
Great local lenders for our Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
And 1% of the loan price will reduce your mortgage, your interest by anywhere from a quarter to a half. So sometimes it makes more sense to instead of put that money as a down payment on the house, actually buy that rate down if you're really concerned about the actual monthly payment. So the best thing to do is, work with your lender to calculate those numbers.
Well, the other thing is to work with your realtor and your lender together and figure out what makes more sense, because sometimes we're so fixated on getting $5,000 off the price of the home, where maybe we should be asking for $5,000 towards closing costs or $10,000 towards closing costs instead of a price reduction on the list price of the house, because that money will make a much bigger impact towards a rate buy down on a monthly payment than that $5,000 or $10,000 in the price of the home. Your monthly payment's going to be a lot better if you get a better interest rate.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So no, I think it's good. And speaking of interest rates, that's another one of the big stories this week is that we have seen a little bit of a slight pullback in mortgage interest rates this week. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but the Fed kind of looks like they're maybe not going to do much on interest rates. There was actually bad labor market data, which actually helps the bond market, which the bond market in the 10-year Treasury in particular have a lot to do with what mortgage rates are. So we have seen a little bit of pullback in mortgage rates in the last week. We did get up over 8% there for a while for a well-qualified person. And now it's back down a little bit, 7.5, 7.75 for again. It's for a well qualified person, 20% down, golden credit, all that good stuff. So most people are probably paying a little bit more than that, but that's where we're at on that. So that's good news. All right, Tracy. The other big news, at least in the real estate world this week, was there was a court case in Missouri where the National Association of Realtors and a couple of big brokerage were sued for basically antitrust, colluding and keeping overcharging on commissions. Basically, is what the charge is. It was found guilty. It was a huge amount that was granted to the plaintiffs as a class action lawsuit. Lots to come on that. And I don't even really want to get in the weeds on it because there's so much to that story and everybody in the real estate world is really familiar with it. And the main thing is the people in the real estate world are like, okay, lawyers, they're fighting it out. We're just going to keep serving our clients and taking care of our clients and do the best we can for them. So
yeah,
it's a little
it's going to be going on for years. And I know someone asked you, Tigo, if you would do a video to explain it. And I think your point was there's a lot to explain and it's your perception versus there's a lot of people who sent out videos on it. So, and it's different for New Mexico versus other places.
It is. And that's another really good point because it is the way we do things are different than other states. We generally don't do agent, right? Agency, as we call it, right? We use the term agent to, for real estate professionals, but that's just a generic term. But agency is a very specific representation, which for the most part isn't done in New Mexico.
Right.
Just one last thing on this. The one thing I'm a little concerned about is that buyer representation could get hurt because right now, if a real estate professional, lists a home for sale, they're representing the seller. The buyers generally have a different real estate professional helping them, again, being their support and their person helping them through the transaction.
Facilitator.
On the buy side. And so if that whole buyer agency relationship goes away, it could be buyers are more on their own. Nobody really knows how this is going to shake out, and that's why it's too early to really read too much into it until we know exactly what the settlement is. And of course, there's, like you said,
it's going to go on for years.
Yeah. People probably saw the headlines. That's why I just wanted to at least address it, because now the story is out there.
Let's talk about something more fun.
Okay.
The benefits of buying a multi-generational home.
Love it.
So, a few years ago, a lot of our local builders, Abrazo, Twilight, Pulte, D.R. Horton, Amerston, Westway.
Well, I think the thing is, Fellowship, does semi-custom. The thing is, there is a demand for that product. A home that works for. Well, what's the definition of multi-generational?
Well, multi-generational. So, it's a home that has 2 or more adult generations living together. So it could be siblings, parents, grandparents, could be aunts, uncles, and other relatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically multi-generational. It doesn't necessarily have to be people that are related to be multi-generational.
If they're the same age, does that work?
Well, it could definitely be siblings, which is what I already mentioned, Tigo.
What if they're both Gen Xers?
Okay, stop. So if you're ready to buy a home, you're having a hard time affording it on your own, or you might have aging loved ones or people with special needs to care for, you might want to consider multi-generational homes. And, we have some builders that do have floor plans that are very multi-generational. A few years ago, it was really hard to find. Somebody would call and say, we need to move in together. A lot of times we would find a resale home and they would figure out how to modify it to make it work, or the 2 living areas were at opposite ends of the house, or they had a separate entrance somewhere that they could somehow fashion into some private space so they weren't always on top of each other. But some of the multi-gen floor plans we've seen in the last 5 years are really great, where they even have maybe a kitchenette in one wing of the house and a separate living area so that people don't have to quite be on top of each other. I've seen some great floor plans. We've seen resale on them. But some of the beauty of multi-gen is maybe you don't need it today, but that floor plan could be really desirable if you need to sell the house in the future. So even if the house isn't something you need, but it's the right house in the right neighborhood, but it's multi-gen setup, you still might want to buy that house because it works for you now, and you never know what your needs might become. And
well, we have a personal story around that, where we have, elderly parents that are going to need a place to stay, and so we're in a situation where we can do that because we do have an ADU, as they call them, or casita.
Right.
That's just a personal story, but I want to get back.
Wait, so
go ahead.
So, but our casita, just to point out, is legal.
Oh, no, I understand. It is. It's just,
it's per the code when we built the house.
Yeah. So, it doesn't have a full kitchen or anything like that. Yeah.
So choosing multi-gen living allows people to purchase a home sometimes much larger than they could afford on their own, because sometimes you're actually combining incomes in addition to joining together on a house. And sometimes that allows you to buy a house that better fits both of your needs. It's maybe a little bit more, but not like double, like buying 2 houses. So you can get the leverage of combining income, credit, and down payment of those that will be occupying the homes. So it can be really helpful for being able to afford the house that you need.
It's kind of like the duplex of 2020s. The duplexes haven't been built in a long time. There's just not a lot of them, at least in Albuquerque. But of course, the city of Albuquerque just recently changed the zoning ordinance where you can build an ADU, or accessory dwelling unit, or what we call casitas in New Mexico, where you can have a separate residence on your property if it's zoned R1. And that was a change to the city zoning rules. Of course, there's a bunch of, there's restrictions and there's certain things you have to do. And but that is something people can do on their existing home as well, is add that casita or in-law suite.
Yeah. And so there's a few other just, built-in benefits of multi-generational living. So true multi-generational versus siblings, I guess, unless it could be special needs. But, you could have built-in babysitters, which would have been lovely when our kids were little.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I wish we would have had built-in babysitters. Right now, I wish I had a built-in dog sitter. But, But sometimes it's a lot easier to take care of loved ones when you have a multi-generational and you don't have to have a separate place to put, somebody that needs extra help. But sometimes more quality time together. Hopefully you like those people that you're going to live with and you get to spend more time together, which, I think is a great thing. But anyway, popular and really good for some people.
Yeah, no, that it is. All right, Tracy. Another big kind of, I don't say big, but story that hit New Mexico has to do with short-term rentals, Airbnb type properties. Somebody that has a property and they're not living in it, and instead of just renting it as a long-term rental, they're doing short-term rental, which generally means a month or less is what you see. And these are properties that are generally advertised on sites like Airbnb or Vrbo or one of those type vacation rental by owner. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm really sorry we haven't talked to Damian Lara, the Bernalillo County assessor, prior to this story, so we could get his take on it. But
yeah, well,
we'll do that.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him. So what's happened is these properties are residential properties for the most part. Residential properties in New Mexico being used for residences have a 3% cap that the assessed value can increase per year. Did I say that right?
For the property tax.
For the property
tax.
The
value of the property can only be increased 3% a year unless it's upon sale.
Yes, and I'm sorry. Yes, we're talking about property taxes. So, every property gets an assessed value, and that is what you, the percentage of whatever that is what you pay in property taxes. Well, in New Mexico, the state is starting to go to the different counties and say, no, you need to assess these properties as commercial properties, commercial use. Commercial use properties do not have the exemption of the 3%, or they would be exempt from that. So meaning they can get reassessed every year or whatever the real market value is. So, you think about 2021 when home prices went up 17% in 1 year, they could only get assessed an additional 3%, not the full 17%, for example.
And this is all just kind of coming down and from the state and being proposed.
Right.
And it would be county by county, would it, you think?
Well,
or is it a state?
My understanding that Lincoln County is already doing it and Santa Fe County is
looking at it.
No, they're just starting to
roll it out,
to roll it up. And then in Bernalillo County with Damian Lara, he's trying to figure out how to manage it and how to figure out what properties would fall under this. So the other thing is the mill rate for commercial is higher than the mill rate for residential as well. So basically the short of it is, if you have an Airbnb, a VRBO, short-term rental, just prepare that you might be getting hit with higher taxes in the next year or
higher property taxes.
Yeah, higher property taxes. So it's an interesting story that I'm following. We'll see where that goes.
So this isn't on the agenda, but you mentioned Lincoln County.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember visiting Lincoln County, but what a great place for a weekend here. Go down to Ruidoso, stop in Lincoln and see where Billy the Kid was, and the courthouse and the old general store. It's supposed to be beautiful weather for the next 5 or 6 days. Get out and enjoy our great state, right?
Yeah.
There's so much locally, right? There's growers markets all weekend. And anyway, it's great.
Yeah.
I was nostalgic on our visit to Lincoln County.
Tracy, I had the opportunity, changing subject.
Good idea.
Be at an event with the Apartment Association of New Mexico. They brought in, what is her name? She runs the Albuquerque Housing Authority.
Thea.
Thea. Yeah, sorry, Thea. I had your card and I lost it. Albuquerque Housing Authority. What they are, they manage what they call the voucher program, also known as Section 8 program, but officially called the Housing Choice Voucher, which is funds they're federal funds that are given out to different municipalities all over the country. And they, you found our card?
No, it's the wrong card.
Okay, wrong one. Anyway, so Albuquerque Housing Authority, I just want to give you some of the numbers on this. And what they do, Tracy, is they help people with housing. They're not like case managers or anything like that. They just basically help people that are in lower income brackets support their housing cost.
Thea Guerin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thea Guerin. And it's a good program. It's a needed program. We know that the housing costs in really New Mexico and the entire country are challenging for a lot of people. So it's a good program. But let me give you some of these numbers. This is just Albuquerque Housing Authority. They have 4,500 to 5,000 households that they support. They have
to support means they pay their rent or a portion.
Either all or portion, correct. And it's not just, there's also Bernalillo County has their own program. That's about 2,000 homes that they support. And then there's also, there's another one, City of Albuquerque, that's a little bit different. But anyway, there's a lot of these different programs out here. But just this one, which is the biggest one, they get about 4,500 applicants per year for this program. Out of those 45, they narrow it down to 1,000, and they have to put them on a wait list. And out of that, they can really only place about 100 people per year. They don't have a lot of turnover of, the 45 or 5,000 that are placed right now. So they get a little bit of turnover, but generally people are there for a long time.
So let me understand. So you said of the 1,000 people that are put on the wait list, about 100 actually get housing support.
Correct.
Is that because of funding or is that because of housing availability?
It's availability. Yeah.
So there just aren't enough homes available for the program.
Right now, that's the problem. In the past, it's funding, right? It's always
something.
It's this balance, right? It's always something, and she does amazing work there. But it's a big need, and they support a lot of people on this program. But the thing they don't have is enough properties right now. There aren't enough properties to go around for all the people that need it. And I would just say, if you are a landlord, I'm sure you're familiar with the program, but you might want to look into it because it is guaranteed rent. You still can qualify the person. You can't use the source of income as a qualification.
As a reason to disqualify them.
Yeah, you can't disqualify somebody if they're paying, on a voucher program. But, you can use any of the other normal reasons to disqualify something as long as it's not discriminatory, right?
Discriminatory.
Yeah,
well, we have one of our rental houses has somebody in it that's on a voucher program, and it's been great, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. Always paid on time, always paid. And she's been a great tenant.
Yeah.
And just to wrap up today, Tracy, we did talk earlier about how people just aren't moving as often. They're not selling their homes as often, right? And they're staying in their homes longer. And there was a survey done, and shoot, I don't know who did it. I don't have it in front of me. Sorry, I can't point out who it was, but I've got the survey. The reason people are staying in their home longer, first and foremost, about 20% say that it's because they have a lower cost of housing right now, meaning they have a lower mortgage rate, and they're not real excited about losing that 3 or 4% mortgage and moving into a higher cost mortgage. So that's the number one reason, but it's only about 20% that say that's the number one reason. The number two reason people are staying is they just like their location, right? And the number three is their housing or their job and their family there. Number four is home prices are too high for them to buy a new home. I think that goes back into the whole idea of mortgage rates, right? I mean, mortgage rates and cost of housing, they're about the same.
Sort of a double whammy right now.
If you put both of those together, you're talking more like 35% or about a third of the people are staying put because of just housing costs,
right?
Interest and so on. So it's something that we're watching in the real estate world and just and see how that shakes out here over the next year or two. I think it's going to take. We know there's buyer demand out there, right?
Yeah, we do. We know the buyers are trying to find the right house. It's just of the ones on the market, there's not maybe exactly what they want, or they get beat out or whatever.
Or they're priced out as well. I think there's a lot of people that would be buyers right now if mortgage rates were a little bit lower and the payments were a little bit lower. So I know I do believe there are people that are just kind of priced out right now.
Yeah. We do have a new property on the market. I know we're running long here. several of them actually. So if you want to reach out to us and find out what's coming soon, what's out there, we're at 448-8888, and we'd be happy to chat with you about it and help you find the right property for you, or help you sell a house if that's what you're needing to do too.